Welcome back to the Diversity Project. I am your host, Rhonda Kulch, and for this episode, we are talking about healthcare, and we have been bringing in several different guests, all talking about different topics related to healthcare. So we had some wonderful words come from Dr. Jeffrey Reynolds earlier, as well as Mark Legaspi with CMM Coverage and Michael Hoffner with the Community Growth Center. And so far, as you've noticed, everybody has talked about something very specific to their industry, but all still wrapped around healthcare. So what I've saved was not to say any one area related to healthcare is more important than another, but this one is just so personal and emotional that I was able to bring on a wonderful woman that I know that specializes in psychotherapy. Yes. So with us in studio is a friend of mine, Elena I'm going to mess this up.
No, you won't.
You got this. I got this. Hatzakos.
Close enough. Hatzakos. I'm not saying my words as I say that.
And normally I don't stumble on words, and I see you all the time.
Yes.
And you're just Elena. And I don't mean that. I don't mean that in a bad way, but people will look at me and they go, "You're just Rhonda," because there's not many Rhondas out there. There's not a tremendous amount of Elenas out there. So we are one word. People. We are one. Yeah. We are powerful women. We only need one name.
That's right.
We're
the shares of the world.
So I botched yours. So I apologize. But
okay.
So I know that you are a psychotherapist.
Yes.
And when I was looking to put together this segment to discuss healthcare, it's important, I think, for people to understand how they can receive their therapy and what's happening in the world of therapy, especially since this pandemic has hit.
Absolutely.
I know you have a resume a mile long of all of the wonderful things that you do. And you, for our listeners who do not know Elena, she's got this resume packed with amazing work that she does. And, more importantly, we all know that suicide is up and drug overdoses are up. And we heard all about that from Dr. Reynolds this morning. What we don't realize is that when somebody is in those positions and they are physically at the hospital, you're the person that they call. Maybe not necessarily the hospitals, but I know you work with a lot of not-for-profit organizations, and you are that 911 call. So tell us a little bit about the work that you do.
Absolutely. So I actually have my own private practice that I work for. But in addition, I do volunteer as a consultant for a lot of nonprofit agencies that need 24/7 care for individuals that are out and about in the community and receive care from their services, or are, one of their residents within their homes and they can't staff 24/7 individuals. So therefore they'll reach out to a consultant like me who has certain experience and would ask to be on call for 24/7. So some of the type of calls that I would receive are, very much related to the pandemic, you would say, and some are not. So say a year ago, I would get a call that was not related to the pandemic, but I would get the same call this year, but it is related to the pandemic.
And what kind of concerns are people experiencing?
Absolutely.
That's creating this enormous amount of stress that they need somebody like you.
Yes. So we'll get calls, or I'll get calls regarding homelessness, anxiety, depression, anything that might lead the individual to not function on a daily basis. So therefore, they're not able to pay the bills for the home or for their apartment, or say for the nonprofit residents, and therefore, they're no longer there. So they're out on the street, they're calling me from their Obama phone, and they're like, "What's my next step? I have no idea what to do." There's literally no other next step for me.
So for somebody like yourself, you're taking these, what I refer to as these 911 calls,
yes,
where you're dealing with people that are just at the breaking point of their emotional well-being. Yes. What happens next?
It all depends on the call. So if it's something that I could actually manage on the call, then that's what I would do. And then we would do a safety plan. And from that safety plan, it would decide on whether that person would go to the hospital on their own, and I could trust that they do so. They will, they'll contact me afterwards, let me know where they're at. They'll do the follow-up call, or it could be something where I would have to actually have a backup who would call 911 and get that person into the emergency room immediately.
Is there any level of follow-up with somebody like yourself as a consultant? I'm not required to do the follow-up, but I'm a person of outcomes. So to me, it is impeccably important for me to know how that person is afterwards, for them to feel that there is a next step, that there is a quality of life that could be improved. And that is kind of how I function in my main practice as well. The main goal is we're going to reach your highest level of quality of life for you, and we're going to figure out what that is, and we're going to do that together as a partnership. We're going to build that rapport however long it takes, and we're going to figure it out together, and we're going to make sure you don't fail along the way. Awesome. Now, this is more of a personal question.
Sure.
When you're dealing with consumers that have such deep-rooted problems, how do you emotionally not get yourself wrapped up and just want to cry your eyes out every single night? I can only say that, and without, I'll let you absorb that, because myself personally, I deal with people that have financial issues, and you're aware of that. And in the beginning, when I first started my practice, within that first maybe 1 to 5 years, and we're going years back, I literally would bottle it all in to the point where I couldn't do it anymore. And I finally realized I was going to bed with my clients' problems on my mind. And it created a lot of stress for me. So it took me a while to get to the point where I'd say, I can only do the job that I'm doing because I'm emotionally pulling myself out. But you're dealing with such different problems than I am dealing with. So how do you handle that personally?
I mean, yes and no. A lot of my patients' problems are very much money rooted. But I would say the main thing that I had to learn from day one is not to internalize these things. You have to know how to compartmentalize, how to not internalize, how to take notes after you get off the phone or after you're done with your patient, and then take it from there. Everything has to be a fluid conversation, and it's all about not internalizing. I actually am SIFI certified, which means I could teach people who want to come into my field, and that's one of the main things that I teach them, because when you internalize and you bring that into your home or wherever you're going to, it's going to break you down, and that's how we lose future psychotherapists, psychologists, whatever you want to call it.
Now, in relation to the work that you do, is there any one or two pieces of advice that you can give to somebody who might be listening that might be suffering, but they don't know how to ask for help? Some people are just so embarrassed about the fact that they can't keep it together that they're afraid to ask for help. So any words of advice on, what you could offer to somebody, that might be listening on them going to get some help?
I love that you asked that, because one of the ways that I look at it is when you look at it as mental health, there's a lot of stigma connected to it. And there is a lot of people who might not want to get mental health. But when it comes to looking at the actual organ of brain health, and you want to take care of the organ of the brain, it is very important to do so. And if you are concerned that you do not have the money to do so, you do not have the connections to do so, I would say 100%. It does not hurt to ask. It's not embarrassing. It doesn't have to be face-to-face that you're asking. It does not hurt to ask. So
excellent. And how do people find you?
Sure. You can find me. I will give out my phone number. Again, my name is Elena Hatzakos, and my phone number is 917-407-5244. And
Excellent.
Yep.
Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you.